what you're saying. Nani? Get out my business, okay?
Hey, how you doing? My name's Heero. This is the Identity Booth, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the mandate that Biden has put out to the federal government, and just talk about some of the things that are realistic, some of the things that aren't, some of the falsehoods that are going around here, the logic and reasoning behind it, but just overall, like, how you should feel about this, and how it should make you, like, feel, just not even how you feel, but if you have any pondering questions, one-off situations that make you feel like this is one-off, like, are we treading on your freedoms, or do you feel some type of way about this? So we kind of just want to have a dialogue about that. So we'll look at it from both perspectives, but for the meantime, let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We got why am I so far scooted over? I think it's because my camera's out of sync, but it can't be helped. That dynamite. So we're going to listen to this real quick, and then we'll get some comments on it.
And turning now to 13 Action News reporter Abel Garcia. He spoke to a specialist in labor and employment to see how this will impact folks right here in Southern Nevada.
President Biden announcing his plan to address the increased number of COVID cases. His new strategy impacting many in Southern Nevada.
Well, I think it's been building up to this for a long time.
The president is requiring all federal executive branch workers, employees, and contractors to be vaccinated. A specialist in labor and employment matters, Richard Dreitzer, says this decision was due to employers' sense of urgency to keep employees safe.
The vaccines are proven, they're approved by the FDA, they're safe and effective. That's why they're approved for wide use. And B, there haven't been any of the bad outcomes with people, or very, very few of them, so people have confidence or more confidence that they are going to help them.
President Biden also announcing the Department of Labor is developing an emergency rule to require all employers with 100 or more employees to get vaccinated. When it comes to potential mandates like this, Dreitzer says it can get tricky at the state level.
I think the federal government cannot do that. In our country, it's sort of an instance of like a federalism thing, because the federal government has to defer to the authority of the states on certain matters. And regulating the health and safety of the public usually falls to the states first and the federal government second.
Dreitzer says the federal government does have the power to require vaccination for federal employees in our state. He says certain employees are running out of options. You either get vaccinated or leave your job.
Vaccines are safe, they're effective, they work. The history of them has been good in terms of bad outcomes are minimal. And so it's harder and harder for people to say with any credibility, I don't trust these vaccines because they might make me sick.
Dreitzer says you will not receive unemployment benefits if you get fired for not being vaccinated.
No, because that is a direct order from an employer that has a legitimate interest in keeping their workplace safe, and they come along and present that to you as an employee, and you say, you know what, I'd prefer not to do it.
Dreitzer says as we continue to get these new mandates, contact your union representatives or reach out to an attorney to take the appropriate steps. Abel Garcia, 13 Action News.
And you know, this is a great little tidbit, and I think Nafi makes a great point about, like, what do you want? Like, they're talking about breastfeeding, right? That's what the comment you made about breastfeeding, and it gets FDA approval through going through the process. It's because it's no correlation for it, but I mean, causation without any facts about it is definitely a reason to look it up. But I think you make a great point, but these are still one-off situations. Something that's been FDA approved, while not 100% perfect in 100% ways, that's so anecdotal and so small. It won't even affect 1% of the people who are going to be in this mandate. As we know that it doesn't affect pregnant women or men trying to become fathers. So it's kind of like this anecdotal thing where you can talk about breastfeeding and the implementation. Like there was a study that I remember reading where it talked about how it caused lymph nodes in the breast to swell, and it caused women's breasts to get bigger. So, I mean, I don't see a downfall in that. Get the vaccine, bigger boobs. Everyone's happy, right? Right? But it speaks more to the sentiment of what's going to be expected moving forward. And really, it comes down to that. It's oh, cool. The CDC has actually, and this is great. There's literally an article right now in the CDC. I'll pull this up because it's great. Nafi, you brought up a point, and the CDC literally has an article on it. So let's just look at that real quick, shall we? I think that's a great point. Something worth bringing up. And it literally says right there, COVID-19 recommended to all people, pregnant, breastfeeding, There is currently no evidence right here. There's currently no evidence that the vaccine, including COVID-19 vaccine, causes fertility problems in women or men. And that includes breast milk. So, problem solved. Fake news. I love it. But, that sentiment, those statements all are derived and pushed from certain topics and how you choose to see it. No, President Biden's vaccine mandate for federal workers does not apply to members of Congress and their staff. Well, that's because, he's part of the executive branch, not in charge of Congress. He can only make this for people within his reach. So if the states decide to take a different route, which I think 17 states are choosing to do, then it's going to be an uphill battle. But the question still remains, why is there such a push against this? Why are we fighting against this? Because some people also make the arguments the government's approach is wrong. Like, they haven't been forthcoming. Nafi asked the question, I literally went to the CDC and pulled up the answer immediately. So the information is out there. We all have at least 2 cell phones now in this world, and a wealth of technology and access to it. So the excuse that you're not educated is just like saying you don't know, saying the N-word as a white person is wrong. As someone's helping you pick your teeth off the ground, they can better explain to you how the decisions you've made have caused you to inherit a world of trouble. And I think that's something to clap about. But no, seriously, there's too much information out there. There's so much information out there that the real information is getting lost in the sauce. So it's important to source your information and get the facts up front, up close. But why are we so infatuated with, trying to disprove this vaccine from working when we know places like Denmark, where more than 80% of the people are vaccinated, lifts all of COVID-19 restrictions. Denmark's back to normal. People are outside, no mask. Like, we have examples. And Denmark is a population, I believe, of 5.8 million. So it's not that big by comparisons to America. But we have real life examples of people who live and work within the same realm of our ideology. So if it's a thing like the government's trying to control us, you got a phone. They already control you. You got a Facebook. If you're watching this right now, that means you have an email address. They can track you. Like, I'm so baffled by this argument. And it's a weak argument because people say stuff like Denmark didn't force it on their civilians. Denmark civilians just aren't dumb. Americans are dumb by design because our schools are trash, the news is loud, and all the people and everyone's looking for instant gratification. That will bolster a culture of ideologues who just want to do whatever makes them feel right in the moment. If someone is making them feel like opinions aren't worthy of opinion, they're going to feel attacked. And, me and Eric constantly talk about this, right? Me and Eric constantly talk about this and talk about how, like, some people will conform to this if you just sat down and talked to them. The only problem is there's not enough time for us to sit down and try and get each person individual time. Americans are very selfish in this in this aspect of life, where we feel like we need to be coddled, babied, and asked and begged to do what's right not for yourself as much as it is to do it for your neighbor. At this point, like we all say, think about the kids. And the kids are the most at risk right now because they're the only ones who are walking around without the vaccine because there's none for them. But we're not willing to do these things for the kids. But that's the first thing they want to say. Like in the video before, we talked about the lady who said, "Oh, I want the kids to smile. I want the kids to live." There's a stark difference between me and you. And one of us is good and one of us is bad. That's just the fact of the matter. Like when kids are getting sick because of our decisions, we as parents, adults, leaders are failing the society. We're failing the society. And this ultimately, this ultimately leads to what the end game is. Because then I heard a lot of people bringing up the FOMOs about standard operating procedures, SOP, for triage of suspected COVID-19 patients in non-U.S. healthcare settings, early identifications, preventions of transmission during triage. Triage, for all you guys that don't know, was a word that popped up in the conservative speech talk because a lot of doctors have started, hospitals and boards have started triaging COVID patients because they now have heart cases, transplants, cases that you could deem emergencies for sure, but after doing a year of only doing emergency cases and no elective, it's forced patients to endure a lifestyle one. So could you imagine sitting on the kidney waiting list and there's a kidney waiting for you, but because there's a person sitting in your because they had to make a COVID bed for a patient who refused to get a vaccine that is currently free, you can't get your transplant. And then you have to keep going and sitting on dialysis for 4 hours every week. That sucks. Yo, that sucks. So, like, I know the triage is a scary word for some people, but basically all it means is assessing the situation and trying to make sure that as many patients live as possible given our resources, circumstances, and time frame. But all of this will come to a head if we don't get this under control. The Delta and the Mu version of the COVID has tussled each other, but Delta has proven to be more dangerous than Mu because of just how quickly it spreads. Even though Mu has a higher viral vector load, for some reason Delta has just been able to spread so much faster and it's been here longer. So Mu is kind of yielding to it. Suspectedly, during these next reign of vaccinations, we can get this down. Like I said, I'm gonna go get my extra booster shot. That means I would have gotten 3 shots, but some people, even America, even consider it fucking wild. But this ultimately leads to the thing that I want people to understand. If you don't take the necessary steps to protect yourself, you can't be surprised if no one's there to help you get off the ground. You feel me? Like, we're coming to a point where if you lose your job and you can't file for unemployment because you didn't want to get the shot, yo, that's on you. Like, benefits and all these things that are supposed to be used for people who are truly struggling, going to people who refuse to or trying to own the libs, that's unnecessary. Take care of yourself, educate yourself, ask questions. You don't have to feel like you're a zealous in this conversation. There's more than enough information out there to kind of quell all of your concerns. So get out there, find the necessary information. There's links posted. If you want it, let me know. I'll put the CDC link for all of these things down in the description. Make yourself available to education. It's not an accident that this is happening to us, but you know, hey, I'm interested to know what you guys think and how this makes you feel. The mandates aren't really a mandate because if you're talking about he's gonna force a needle in my arm, he's not necessarily forcing the needle in your arm. You can go and get tested every week. That's an option. But if you're gonna go get tested every week and then after a while they start charging you, then what? Like, how much longer are you gonna hold out? Everyone has a price. So I asked you, what's your price? Because I got it for free. And I'm going to go get the third one too for free. But that's just my opinion. I'm eager to know what you guys think. My name's Heero. This is the Identity Booth. Give us a shout. Let us know what you're thinking. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming around, liking and sharing. Tap it up yourself because we love you guys. Always in there. Twitch, Facebook, TikTok, Anchor, as the great Eric always says, everywhere.
We could catch the vibe, but it's so hard to find through the daily grind. Been working overtime, and I'm sleep deprived. Shorty on my line and we fuss and fight. Seems like every night, don't care who's wrong or right. I hope the end is sight. Slow it down and we can catch the vibes.